For some reason, Raj's Discord is incredibly laggy, so I apologize for the bad lip sync during this episode. Enjoy! Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Friday news dump. We're going to tell you everything that's been happening this week, and you're going to have to deal with the knowledge of knowing those things for the weekend because we're not going to be here to support you. You know, like great friends always do. Let's go ahead and get into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, EU countries could save 238,000 lives a year by meeting the WHO air pollution guidelines.
The United States lands on the moon after 50 years, and Germany finds another way to get high by legalizing cannabis.
U.S. man accused of making $1.8 million from listening in on wife's remote work calls.
And Black History Month, we remember Barbara Jordan, the first African-American woman from the South to go to Congress.
Tyler Perry halts $800 million studio expansion after being shocked by AI Sora.
And it's National Dog Biscuit Day, so grab yourself a Scooby snack and get ready for the comprehensive news of planet Earth on Before Coffee for February 24th, or the 23rd as we know it, 2024.
Fine. I will edit that later. It's gonna be fun to try to lip sync your video with the other audio.
Oh,
all right.
I can
Discord
talk slow.
things. Let's go ahead and start with our first news story here, which is about the EU and air pollution. We did a story, I think probably 3 months ago or something, about how the air pollution in the EU is not that great. It's actually pretty bad, and countries need to work harder to fix it. And now the WHO, or WHO, is telling them how many people they could actually save if they fix their problem. This is from The Guardian by Gary Fuller. Approximately 2,308,000 air pollution deaths could be avoided each year if the EU 27 countries actually met World Health Organization guidelines for air pollution, according to figures from the European Environmental Agency. And more than 400,000 deaths could be avoided if the particle air pollution could be avoided completely. On 20th of February, the EU Council agreed new legislation for clean air for 2030 and beyond. As for EU countries work towards these new legal limits, a new study has estimated the benefits that could quickly rise with reductions in air pollution from traffic and home heating. The academics looked at 41 European countries. They found that a 20% drop in road traffic pollution could reduce annual excess deaths across Europe by about 7,000 people a year by decreasing particle pollution. Germany tops the chart with potential decrease of more than 1,000 deaths annually. For the UK and Italy, it would be more than 500. These estimates were based on air pollution and health statistics from 2015, so there could have been a change since then, but not likely. A 20% decrease in air pollution from home heating would yield approximately 13,000 fewer deaths each year. East and Central Europe would benefit most due to high risk of solid fuel for heating. Germany, Italy, Poland, Ukraine, and Turkey would experience more than 1,000 fewer deaths each year, and the UK would sustain more than 650 fewer deaths, just from using solid fuel to heat their homes. Crazy. The new study also showed that more than half of the benefits come from fewer deaths from heart attacks, strokes, and type 2 diabetes, as well as lung cancer. Greater ambition would yield even more bigger death outcomes. Dr. Nikki Paisi, who was part of the study team at the Climate and Atmosphere Research Center at the Cyprus Institute, said, "Of the excess deaths in Europe that are attributed to long-term exposure to particle pollution, 26% and 12 of these can be avoided if residential combustion and road transport emissions are phased out." Respectively, countries like the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Estonia, Hungary, and Poland could experience higher benefits from phase-out, given that these two sectors contribute together to nearly 50% of the particle pollution mortality in these countries. These sectors are the focus of net zero strategies, so there are clearly opportunities from optimizing our air pollution and climate policies for maximum health benefits. And what about the deaths from other sources of particle pollution? Published in 2023, A study from Barcelona's ISG Global Research Institute sheds some light on this and can help national and especially city governments to understand which polluting sectors they should prioritize. Professor Mark Neuenhauser from the ICG Global explained, cities are still hotspots of air pollution and premature deaths. Urgent action is needed. This requires a holistic approach, bringing together many different sectors, including energy, transport, industry, and agriculture. I do wonder, yes, it's a very interesting that cities are still really, I guess it's because there's less open air. This is why I live in a village. There's many reasons to like a city, and there's many reasons not to like a city. And for me, it's the noise pollution and the air pollution. Cities don't smell nice, even though when I open my window, it does smell like cow. But hey, I'd rather smell a cow than smell like car exhaust fumes. I think if we're gonna put that on a scale, cow smell, little better, for me at least. Neuenhausen team have produced an online tool that allows the public, city authorities, and governments to interrogate the research database and to visualize the harm from different pollution sources in their area. Many of us in the UK and in countries bordering the North Sea may be surprised to see shipping listed as a substantial source of particle pollution. Yeah, because where do you think the particles go? For large areas of northwest Europe, including much of the UK, the Netherlands, Denmark, and Germany, agriculture is one of the largest sources of early deaths from particle pollution, alongside transport and some home heating. That's what I was wondering. How dangerous is it to me that I'm next to a bunch of cow farms and that is getting into my lungs? Pretty dangerous. This receives little public and political attention because a lot of these countries rely on agricultural sector to have an economy, and if you start telling farmers they are not allowed to poison the local populace nearby, they will start having protests, which is what's happening right now. Hey, stop putting your cow dung in the water. How dare you tell me what I can do with my ditches? If I want to poison my local population with my ditch water, I'm going to, and you can't stop me. People are going to starve if I don't do it. And that's me pretending to be a close-minded farmer. Figures released by the UK government in mid-February highlight the need for more action with slow or no progress in reducing air pollution from farms and home heating with solid fuels. So there is your update. How many people are suffering right now because people aren't regulating these pollutions. There's particles in my lungs and I don't want them there. What about my right to having clean lungs? All right. On to your story.
Just more people arguing about shit. Literally.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
But shit. Shit. In technology news and space news, this is from Reuters. Steve Gorman and Joey Roulette. Joey Roulette. Ever played Joey Roulette? It's not that much fun. You have to do it with little tiny baby kangaroos. Yeah. Anyway. And all they do is hop around. Hey, come on, we're playing roulette here. Stop hopping around. Anyway, the moon landing was 50 years ago. Well, a little bit more than that. It was 1969. But the last time we were there was a little less than 55 years ago. 72, I think we were there last time. Anyway, spacecraft built and flown by Texas-based company Intuitive Machines landed near the moon's south pole on Thursday. The first U.S. touchdown on the lunar surface in more than half a century, and the first ever achieved by the private sector. NASA, with several research instruments aboard this vehicle, hailed the landing as a major achievement, and its goal is sending a squad of commercially flown spacecraft on scientific scouting missions to the moon ahead of its planned return of astronauts later this decade. But initial communications problems following Thursday's landing raised questions about whether the vehicle may have left impaired or obstructed in some way. The unscrewed six-legged robot lander dubbed Odysseus, and an ad just jumped in.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Oh, sorry about that, disconnected. You can continue.
Start again. Okay.
It was a split second.
The six-legged robot lander dubbed Odysseus touched down at about 6:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The company said the company and the NASA communicators sent a joint webcast of the landing from Intuitive Machines Mission Operations Center in Houston. The landing kept a nail-biting final approach and descent in which the problem surfaced with the spacecraft's autonomous navigation system that required engineers on the ground to employ an untested workaround at the 11th hour. It also took some time for an anticipated radio blackout to reestablish communications with the spacecraft and determine its fate some 239,000 miles or 384 kilometers from Earth. When contact was finally renewed, the signal was faint, confirming that the lander had touched down, but leaving mission control immediately uncertain as to the precise condition and orientation of the vehicle, according to the webcast. Our equipment is on the surface of the moon, and we are transmitting. So congratulations, IM team. Intuitive Machines Mission Director Tim Crane was heard telling the Operations Center. We'll see what more we can get from that. Later in the evening, the company posted a message on the social media platform saying flight controllers have confirmed Odysseus is upright and starting to send data. Question of obstruction. Still, the weak signal suggested the spacecraft may have landed next to a crater, wall, or something else that blocked or impinged its antennas, said Thomas Zurbuchen, former NASA science chief who oversaw the creation of the agency's commercial moon lander program. Sometimes it could just be one rock, one big boulder, that's in the way, he said in the phone interview with Reuters. Such an issue could complicate the lander's primary mission of deploying its payloads and meeting science objectives, Zurbuchen said. Accomplishing the lander is a major intermediate goal, but the goal of the mission is to do science and get the pictures back, so forth, he added. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson immediately cheered Thursday's feat as a triumph, saying Odysseus has taken the moon. As planned, the spacecraft was believed to have come to rest in a crater named Malapert near the moon's south pole, according to the webcast. The spacecraft was not designed to provide live video of landing, which came one day after it reached lunar orbit this week on its launch from Florida. Thursday's landing represented the first controlled descent of the lunar surface by U.S. spacecraft since Apollo 17 in 1972. There you go. That's how long it's been. 53 years. 52 years. I can't do math. When NASA's last crewed moon mission landed there with astronauts Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt. To date, spacecraft from just 4 other countries have ever landed on the moon: the former Soviet Union, China, India, and most recently, just last month, Japan. The United States is the only one to have ever sent humans to the lunar surface. And this goes on for quite a while. My Lord, there's not a whole lot more news to report on this.
The history of the moon landing, basically, yeah.
News dump story, which is Germany getting high the other way. At least around. Germany set to join legal cannabis club. This is from Thomas Askred of Reuters. This is from Byline Berlin. Germany's parliament is expected to pass a law on Friday legalizing the cultivation and consumption of a limited amount of cannabis. You only need a limited amount. Everything's limited, right? It's self-limiting. Regularizing the behavior of 40.5 million Germans estimated to use the drug. Under the proposals brought by the Chancellor Olaf Scholz's ruling three-party coalition, cultivating up to 3 plants for private consumption and owning up to 25 grams of cannabis would be legalized. 25 grams isn't even an ounce, man. Dude, you gotta let people have more than that. Oh well. Baby steps, larger scale, but still non-commercial cannabis production would be allowed for members of so-called cannabis clubs, but it could have no more than 500 members, all of whom would have to be adults. Only club members would be allowed to consume their output. The aim is to crack down on the black market and drugs-related crime, reduce the amount of dealing, and cut the number of users, said Health Minister Karl Lauterbach. Yeah, just making it legal doesn't make people use it more than they did. I don't think it does at all. I don't think that's been really experienced. I think it just brings it out of the shadows. The move would make Germany the 9th country to legalize recreational use of the drug. It is also legal in some jurisdictions in the United States and Australia. Many more countries allow its medical use as a painkiller. In practice, Germany plans to regulate in a separate law. Cannabis would remain illegal for minors, not people that work in mines, just people under, I believe, 21. And would highly restrict for young adults. I mean, you minors probably got bad lungs to begin with, so I'm not sure.
It's because cannabis makes you stop maturing, so you end up staying 12 years old or whatever if you start smoking early. You never grow up.
Yeah, that sounds like an old wives' tale. Consuming it near schools and playgrounds would be illegal. The restrictions is whoop, there we go, the pop-up ad. Pop-up ad made me lose my scroll. There it is. The restriction is necessary because cannabis, particularly damaged the still growing brain. Lauterbach said, nobody should misunderstand this law. Cannabis consumption is being legalized. That doesn't mean it isn't dangerous. The opposition conservatives oppose the new rules which say they are too complicated for authorities to force and could lead to greater consumption. I don't think the law, people don't do this based on the law necessarily, so I wouldn't worry about that. Instead of predicting children and young people, the coalition is acting like the state drug dealer, said Christian Democrat legislator Tino Sorge. Some experts doubt the new regulations would have much impact on dealing, since those who are unwilling to grow their own cannabis or join a cannabis club may still prefer to buy the drug. So there you go. Germany, what they're wrestling with the problem that really isn't a problem. But what they need to do is do what the United States did, is legalize it and tax it, and legalize it and tax it, and you'll find that the consumption will not go up that dramatically, just because people that used it before are using it now in the open. They're worried about crime. They can go look at the United States. States that legalize it, crime went down.
Okay.
Car accidents went down in Colorado and places like that. Nobody has to go into a dangerous neighborhood to buy weed anymore. Think about it that way.
Dangerous.
All right, back to you.
I will say I have a study here from Duke University psychologist Terry Moffat, who has a PhD in health. They followed 1,000 New Zealanders born in 1972 and answered questions about marijuana at 18, 21, 26, 32, and 38. They also underwent a neuropsychological test at 13 and 38, so at the beginning, before they started smoking, and after. And the team found that persistent marijuana use was linked with a decline in IQ, even after researchers controlled their educational differences. The most persistent users, those who reported using the drug in 3 or more waves of the study, experienced a drop in neuropsychological functioning equivalent to about 6 IQ points. So there is a connection, whether it's small or not, to neurodevelopment, lacking in neurodevelopment if you smoke marijuana at a young age. That's all I'm saying. It's not a wives' tale. There's actual studies on it.
Like saying there's crack babies. That's like saying there's crack babies.
I don't think children should be consuming any state-altering anything. Alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, any of these things that make adults feel good, children should not be having to consume, and that is a societal problem. We should be giving support to children instead of them having to go to substance abuse to relieve stress or, relax. Most children should not be going through such terrible pain like you do that they need to smoke to feel their back. That shouldn't be a problem for children. So
you're trying to raise a German child somewhere.
But I've never needed to smoke marijuana, so that's probably why I don't understand why.
All right.
All right. Anyways, let's go on. Let's go on to our next story, which is about insider trading. Let me quickly update this again. Okay. So, this is from The Guardian. U.S. man accused of making $1.8 million from listening to wife's remote phone calls. This is written by Kalina Makartov. U.S. regulators have accused a man of making $1.8 million or 1.4 million pounds, because this is on The Guardian, so they have to tell us in pounds, by trading on confidential information he overheard while his wife was on a remote call, in a case that could fuel arguments against working from home. If you're working from home, kick your husband or your wife out of the building, okay? Securities and Exchange Commission SEC said it charged Tyler Ludon with insider trading after he took advantage of his remote working conditions and profited from private information related to the oil firm BP's plan to buy an Ohio-based travel center and truck stop businesses last year. But like love truck stops? SEC claims that, or I guess SEC, I should just say SEC. The SEC claims that Loudon, who is based in Houston, Texas, listened in on several remote calls held by his wife, a BP merger and acquisitions manager, who had been working in the planned deal in a home office 20 feet or 6 meters away. The regulator said Loudon went on a buying spree, purchasing more than 46,000 shares in the takeover target travel centers, without his wife's knowledge. Weeks before the deal was announced on February 16th, 2023, Travel Centers of America stock soared by nearly 71%. As the deal was announced, Loudon then sold off all of his shares, making a $1.8 million profit. And then he confessed to his wife that was his first. He should have just kept the money and not said anything, but no. Oh, I'm sorry. I made him $1.8 million in profit because I heard your call. You know, should have said nothing. You can't get caught if you don't confess. That's what. Loudon eventually confessed to his wife and claimed that he had bought the shares because he wanted to make money, so that she didn't have to work long hours anymore. See, it came from a good place, so he should have not said anything. She reported to his dealings to her bosses at BP, which later fired her despite having no evidence that she knowingly leaked information to her husband. Yet again, he should have shut his mouth. Now she doesn't have to work long hours at all. She eventually moved out of the couple's home and filed for divorce. No kidding. Eric Werner, the original director of the SEC's Fort Worth office in Texas, said, "We allege that Mr. Loudon took advantage of the remote working conditions and his wife's trust to profit from information he knew was confidential. The SEC remains committed to prosecuting such malfeasance." I wonder if, I'm just saying, right? As somebody who doesn't trust the man or whatever, there's probably corporations out there that are doing insider deal trading and they don't get any things, unless there's a big corruption, thing where they work 10 years to find the corruption within this industry, unless that happens. It's probably happening right now. Insider trading is happening. But this poor guy, one individual who made bank that he'd probably never make in his lifetime, right? Getting all of the consequences of his actions. And honestly, it sucks. I seriously would have just kept the secret. Oh yeah, you just got lucky, How convenient. Why the hell would you confess? Maybe he went on Reddit and did one of those, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for insider trading my wife and not telling her, Yes, you're the asshole, but keep it to yourself. You've ruined everyone's life, including your own. The case is expected to fuel arguments, particularly for U.S. companies, for workers to return to the office, reversing the boom in home working prompted by the pandemic lockdowns. Banks such as Goldman Sachs have been forcing some staff to come in 5 days a week, while others such as Google are factoring office attendance into their regular staff performance reviews. Concerns about security and confidential information could end up trumping studies that show working from home can deliver big health benefits, allowing people to eat more healthily, feel less stressed, and have lower blood pressure. I think the argument really here is that if you are having to be a merger manager and acquisitions manager, you do have to go into the office. But if you're just the grunt, like the freaking, HR manager, you probably don't need to be in the office. Maybe. I don't know. But I think if you're dealing with security, secret deals behind closed doors. You need to actually be in a place behind closed doors. Loudon did not deny the allegations outlined in the said complaint, which was filed at the U.S. District Court for Southern Texas, and instead agreed to partial judgment subject to court approval. That partial judgment will ban him from taking company leadership roles, force him to pay the money he's made from the trade with interest on top of an extra fine to be determined by the court. He is facing criminal charges from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas. The SEC filing said Loudon, who is in his early 40s, is employed with an unnamed publicly listed company, but is not in a sector supervised by the regulator. Yeah, just don't. If you do insider trading as a private individual, just don't tell anybody. That's all I'm going to say. Just don't. Just say you got lucky and leave it at that. You're just one guy. It's when it's companies that do it that is a problem to me, because companies are already rich.
Insider trading, man.
Yeah, corporations are already making bank billions of dollars, and then they do insider trading. Now that is a criminal offense to me. Like, you're already rich and you're making even more money? Hell no. But if you're just an individual who's like, oh yeah, I make $50,000 a year, and then you insider trade, I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. Go for it.
Yeah, right.
Your story.
It does affect. You know why it does affect you? You know why it does affect you? Because you're not rich, and when you can't make decisions, somebody else is making them for you, and you have no idea what it's based on. And we know it exists, and I actually think it should be policed myself, even if it's incidental.
Like I said, I mean, this is coming from a person who doesn't accept the existence of the stock market. I think creating the stock market was a mistake, but
don't accept it.
Yeah,
that's one of those things you gotta accept. You gotta accept certain things in life. Sorry, I don't accept the moon landing. It happened, right?
I just wish it didn't exist. Like, people changing lives, affecting, like, causing layoffs and stuff because a line goes up and down. It's just crazy to me that we allowed that to happen in our society. The line went down. Oh, we have to fire everyone because our stock prices dropped. I'm like, what the fuck is this going on right now?
I'm sorry.
People's lives are affected by a line going up and down. That's all I'm saying, okay?
It's gambling. It's gambling. It's legalized gambling.
People's lives are changed from gambling, and it's crazy.
Value. Anyway. However, I will disagree about childhood cannabis. Again, childhood cannabis is being used to treat seizures in children.
Yes, I understand.
Successfully.
But that's THC. That's not smoking and getting high.
Children, as in. They're all going to get hooked, and they're all going to turn into stoners. Well,
no,
maybe
that's different. You're talking about cannabis oil versus actual actual getting stoned out of your mind as a 13-year-old should not be happening.
There's several different chemicals in there besides THC.
I know. But I'm specifically talking about the reason why they're banning children from smoking is because one of those components of cannabis is not good for your neurological development. That's all.
The brain development part, which is, you know what? Until 1960s, late 60s, children were inhaling lead on a daily basis.
Yeah, and that was a travesty as well.
We learn everything. We learn new things all the time. We learn new things all the time.
There was a study I saw that said. There was a study I saw that said lead consumption from back in the 60s could have been a cause to dementia and getting Alzheimer's. So yeah, there's towns in the Midwest, Wisconsin specifically, where the population went crazy because of the lead mine and the town. And they just killed everybody. Didn't kill them. They went nuts first because of the lead in the water supply and in the air. Yeah. Incidentally, because they had smelters there that were polluting the air with it. Oh, in American Black History Month news. Yep. I guess it's not really news. Black History Month. Although Barbara Jordan's birthday was the other day, February 21st. So we're going to celebrate that today by talking about Barbara Jordan, born February 21st, 1936, Houston, Texas. And Jordan was the youngest of three daughters in a close-knit family. As a high school student, she became a skilled public speaker, winning the national debate contest in 1952. She attended Texas Southern University in Houston,
becoming a member of the debate team that tied Harvard University in the debate, one of her proudest college moments. Following graduation, magna cum laude, by the way, in 1956, she attended Boston University Law School, where she was one of only 2 women, both African Americans from Houston, to graduate. She passed the Massachusetts bar exam, but moved to the Tuskegee Institute, later renamed Tuskegee University, in Alabama, and taught there for 1 year before returning to Texas and gaining admittance to the bar there. Jordan was an effective campaigner for the Democrats during the 1960 presidential campaign, and this experience propelled her into politics. In 1962 and 64, she was an unsuccessful candidate for the Texas House of Representatives, but she was elected in 1966 to the Texas Senate, the first African American member since 1883, and the first woman ever elected to that legislative body. Jordan's success in Texas politics came from her knowledge of and adherence to the rules of political process. She went to great lengths to fit in and sought advice on committee assignments. Her own legislative work focused on environment, anti-discrimination clauses in state business contracts, and legislation. The last being a political challenge in a state dominated by rural interests. She captured the attention of U.S. President Lyndon Johnson, who invited her to the White House for a preview of his 1967 civil rights message. Jordan remained in the Texas Senate until 1972, when she was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from Texas' 18th District. In the House, Jordan advocated legislation to improve the lives of minorities, the poor, the disenfranchised, and sponsored bills that expanded workers' compensation and strengthened the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to cover Mexican Americans in the Southwest. Although she acquired a reputation as an effective legislator, Jordan did not become a national figure until the 1974 Watergate scandal, when her participation in the hearings held by the House Judiciary Committee on Impeachment of Richard Nixon was televised nationwide. Her keynote address in the 1976 Democratic National Convention confirmed her reputation as one of the most commanding, articulate speakers of the era. Jordan decided not to seek a 4th term and retired from Congress in 1979. In that year, she also published Barbara Jordan, a Self-Portrait. She then accepted a position at the University of Texas in Austin, where she taught at the Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs until her death. Despite her absence from Washington, D.C., she remained influential in political affairs. In 1990, she served as an advisor on ethics in government for Texas Governor Ann Richards, and also was a chairman for the U.S. Commission on Immigration Reform. In 1992, she again gave the keynote address at the Democratic National Convention. And Barbara Jordan, that's her career, and doesn't get to her death, but she died January 17th, 1996 in Austin, Texas.
What a
true pioneer.
What an amazing
And if you're still
story.
there,
Yep.
and not doing something else, I'll send it back to you.
I'm just
Unless
making
you
a
just want to watch
protein
me
shake
read
because
my
I just
poem.
did so much yoga that my freaking muscles are
You're multitasking, are
I'm
you?
multitasking.
Okay, well,
yeah. Making
are
a
you going
protein
to take
shake.
it or no?
I also have to wait for your video to
you
catch
taking
up
it?
so that I can actually capture that. All right, let's go to our culture segment here, which I can't see myself because I put my giant protein here. I finally finished it after 3 years. It's probably expired or something. Let's go ahead and cover our culture segment here, which is about Tyler Perry and being shocked by AI. That's right, AI. I don't know if you've been paying attention to any social media this week, but there's a big AI that's hit the market, and it's making everyone freak out as usual. This is from Dan Milmo on The Guardian. Tyler Perry has paused a $800 million or 630 million pound expansion of its Atlanta studio complex after the release of OpenAI's video generator Sora, and warned that a lot of jobs in the film industry will be lost to artificial intelligence. The U.S. film and TV mogul said he was in the process of adding 12 sound stages to his studio, but has halted those plans indefinitely after he saw the demonstrators of Sora and its shocking capabilities. All of that is currently and indefinitely on hold because of Sora, what I'm seeing, Perry said in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. I had gotten word over the last year or so that this was coming, but I had no idea until I saw recently the demonstrations of what it was able to do. It's shocking to me. The AI tool was launched on February 15th with limited access to a few researchers and video creators and caused widespread astonishment with its ability to produce realistic footage in a minute-long form simple text prompts. Perry, whose successes include the Medea film series, said Sora's achievements meant he would no longer have to travel to location or build a set. I can sit in an office and do this with a computer, which is shocking to me. Demonstrations released by OpenAI to the developer of the groundbreaking ChatGPT chatbot show photorealistic scenes in response to prompts such as asking for a shot of people walking through a beautiful snowy Tokyo city, where gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind along with snowflakes. Perry said the breakthroughs presented by Sora would affect a range of jobs throughout the film industry, including those of actors, editors, sound specialists, and transportation crew. He said, I am very, very concerned that in the near future, a lot of these jobs are going to be lost. I really feel that very strongly. Yeah, I mean, it's really sad because in one way you want to think people want to see real art made by a person, you know, with a history. Like I made this film about, you know, the loss of my mother when I was 13, and I hope other people can share in that experience. That's why I made this film. Or you can tell AI Sora to make some slop for you. I want to see Winnie the Pooh in a musical about how much he loves to dance, and then it'll just make a whole film for you, and then wow, this is exactly what I wanted to watch. And there was this argument I had in my audience studies course that I took in my bachelor's degree, and it was about low art versus high art, and it's argument that low art is bad, but what's really bad is no art at all. Because AI can't make art, they can only replicate it. So they will create this whole Winnie the Pooh figure and they'll make him dance, and you'll be like, this has no heart in it. There's nobody behind the scenes about making this influential story about Winnie the Pooh dancing. And I hope people and audiences will feel that, and they'll feel kind of senselessness of AI art. Hopefully, as somebody who's in the film industry, please, humanity, don't fail me now. Perry said an immediate example was the construction workers and contractors who would no longer work on his planned studio expansion because there's no need for it. He had used AI in 2 recently shot films in which the technology was used to age his face and help him avoid hours in the makeup chair. Concerns over the impact of AI on jobs were a feature in recent strikes by Hollywood actors and writers, with peace deals that ended through disputes both featuring guardians and using that technology. However, Perry told The Hollywood Reporter that a whole industry approach was still needed to save jobs. It can't be one union fighting every contract every 2 or 3 years. I think that it has to be everybody, all involved in how do we protect the future of our industry because it's changing rapidly right before our eyes, he said. Why can't they just have AI replace data analysis jobs or something? Why do they have to replace actual human art, you know? I'm sorry, but there's been studies on mice about this, and they found that if you gave mice everything they ever wanted in life, right? Food, shelter, safe place to live, the mice will all end up dying because they have nothing to do anymore. So what they tried for the second part of the experiment, they gave them fun things to do, like, oh, you can do a maze, you can, play with some animal safe paint to make paintings, you can make music. And they lived for much longer. They still died, but they lived for way longer being able to create art. So imagine we're living in a society where nobody makes art anymore because, well, you're just gonna torture yourself. An AI can just do your job for way cheaper. Nobody's gonna hire for you. And I'm not saying you have to make art to make money, but it would be nice to be able to live and make art. So unless we're living in this utopian society where everyone gets paid to live in a house, they get their, what is it called? Their, I guess they get an income. I never can think of the word when I'm talking about it.
Yes, but, you're not hearing me?
I'm hearing you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But if the government were to basically pay people to live so that they can exist, and we don't have any jobs anymore because the AI replaces it, would we still be making art? I think some of us would. But hopefully this is a long time, 100 years from now or 200 years from now when that society happens. I don't want to be alive when this happens. That's hopefully not very soon. On to this day in history, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if AI picks up on nuance and things like that.
Yeah.
But you see me okay?
You're good. You're good. I was watching you. I saw that you were disconnecting, but you're fine.
Going
right now.
blank. My screen went blank, so I don't see myself. So I don't know if I'm on
your camera keeps disconnecting, I guess.
Yep. That's what happened just now?
Yeah.
You hear me?
I can still hear you. I just can't see you.
I'm gonna have to reboot this thing. It keeps doing this. It's going into sleep mode while I'm talking. I never did that.
Maybe you can unplug it. Maybe it's because it's plugged in.
No.
Now he's gone. All right. Well, I guess I'll talk about something else and see if I can find another news story to talk about while he's rebooting his iPad. I mean, I could read that study we read. I'm not anti-cannabis, by the way. I don't have anything against cannabis. I just, I understand why they're not letting 12-year-olds smoke cannabis.
This day in history.
Oh, you're back.
This day in history is what I'm doing. Yeah, let's see if it doesn't blank out after about 10 seconds, though. That's what it was doing while you were talking.
Yeah, I could see.
And I wasn't sure. You see me now, but let's see what happened.
This
day in history. 1685, composer George Frederick Handel, a leading figure in the late Baroque music, was born in Germany this day. 1822, on February 23rd, Boston was granted a charter to become a city. So happy birthday, Boston. You are 202. 1870, Mississippi was readmitted to the United States following the American Civil War, which they outlawed slavery just a couple of years ago. 1905, the first Rotary Club was founded by Chicago attorney Paul P. Harris. The Rotary Club. Doesn't explain what the Rotary Club is. There, I think it has to do with guns. Civilian Service Club. That's what it is. Organization of men and women, varied business, professional backgrounds, dedicated to fellowship amongst members of voluntary community service. Okay, there you go. Answers my question. Rotary Club, they should have said that in a very small item. 1945, 6 U.S. servicemen raised the American flag over Mount Suribachi on the island of Iwo Jima during World War II. And famously, several movies about it. And songs such as Ira Hayes, the Ballad of Ira Hayes. 1965, British-born comedian Stan Laurel of the comedy team Laurel and Hardy died at the age of 74. We are proud to present this Laurel and Hardy handshake to our new sheriff. 2000, that's in Blazing Saddles. Anyway, 2000, Mexican-born American musician Carlos Santana won 8 Grammy Awards for Supernatural, tying the record set by Michael Jackson. Featured event. In 1836, Alamo besieged by Santa Anna's Mexican army. On this day in 1836, during the Texas War for Independence, Mexican General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna began the siege of the Alamo, which was captured 13 days, which became for Texas a symbol of heroic resistance. In featured biography, W.E.B. Du Bois, American, or Du Bois. I think the French pronunciation is Du Bois, and people still pronounce it Du Bois. Right?
Yeah, because
American sociologist. Born on this day, February 23rd, 1868, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Not smaller Barrington, Great Barrington. And died August 27th, 1963, age 95, Accra, Ghana. So he was still alive when I was born. That's interesting. I did not know that. Other birthdays today, Kazimir Malevich, avant-garde painter. If you need somebody to paint your avant-garde, he's your guy. That's a joke. In 1960, Naruhito, Emperor of Japan, was born. And 1965, Michael Dell, American business executive, was born. You know, Dell Computers, named after him, if you had one of those contraptions. National days today, besides feeding your Scooby Stacks, your dog biscuits, it's National Skip the Straw Day. So stop it. When you're driving down the highway, dump that drink down in front of your shirt. That's what you need to do.
Hell yeah.
Straws have a purpose, boys and girls. I know that's horrible that they're for the environment, but you can reuse the same straw 500 million times if you want. Did you know that? Did you know that? You can reuse them. Reuse the straws.
Ones, yeah, for sure.
It's National Tile Day. And it's, you know, little, like 4-inch square by 4-inch square tiles.
Pick out your bathroom tiles.
Bathroom. You can get really creative with that. Boy, you can turn yourself into a psychedelic. Just drop acid and stay in your bathroom all day. National Banana Bread Day. National Banana Bread Day. Hell yeah. You got bananas and you got some flour and some sugar and some eggs and a little milk and you got the party. National Tortilla Chip Day also. So it's a big food day, especially for your dog, because it's National Dog Biscuits Day. Those are all the days that are fit to print for Friday, November 23rd, October, whatever month this is, February 23rd, 2024. I took a stab. It was one of those months. I know it was one of them, and it was more than one syllable. So it wasn't March. Which March is next week, though. Next week we have February 29th we have next week. Here. So we're going to figure out what day only happens every 4 years besides Leap Day.
Watch Raj have a stroke live on stream. That's what's happening right now.
Don't joke about an old man having a stroke. It actually happened and people start laughing.
No, it's just a meme. I know you're not having a stroke. But that's what people say when they're like, am I having a stroke right now? What the hell am I saying right now? Are you a
neurologist?
Yeah.
You're a neurologist now? You know I'm not having a stroke?
Yeah, because your face isn't going lax on one side.
Could be just faking it.
It's really hard to fake one side of your face going numb. It's really hard.
That's the comprehensive news of planet Earth for February 23rd, 2024 on Before Coffee.
It's the 24th, but you'll get it one day.
23rd, I think. 23rd.
Is it not the 24th? Oh, it is the 23rd. You're right. Okay. I know I'm having a stroke.
Confused
all right.
you. That's what I did.
Let me...
At work, my confusion. You're closer to the 24th than I am.
Hey, it's Friday. It's all about having fun because it's the weekend and we can do nothing now. We can just, well, some of us can do nothing. At least, well, the rest of us are probably still working because we don't live in the UK with that 4-day work week trial they just released.
Or France.
But this has been this week of Before Coffee. I hope you enjoyed our lovely technical issues, and we will see you next week on Monday. Have a good one, stay safe, and here is your mic drop moment.
My presence here is one additional bit of evidence that the American dream need not forever be deferred. Now that I have this grand distinction, what in the world am I supposed to say? I could easily spend this time praising the accomplishments of this party and attacking the Republicans, but I don't choose to do that. I could list the many problems which Americans have. I could list the problems which cause people to feel cynical, angry, frustrated. Problems which include lack of integrity in government, the feeling that the individual no longer counts, the reality of material and spiritual poverty, the feeling that the grand American experiment is failing or has failed. I could recite these problems, and then I could sit down and offer no solutions. But I don't choose to do that either. The citizens of America expect more. They deserve and they want more than a recital of problems. We are a people in a quandary about the present. We are a people in search of our future. We are a people in search of a national community. We are a people trying not only to solve the problems of the present, unemployment, inflation, but we are attempting on a larger scale to fulfill the promise of America. We are attempting to fulfill our national purpose, to create and sustain a society in which all of us are equal. Throughout our history,
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.